I'm just mirroring my smartphone screen directly to the course on the right side. So what Appgyver provides us is an real-time app view application. You can download it in the Play Store and then connect it with your account, and then it will basically mirror the state of your application in the Composer Pro to your application, to your smartphone. So yeah, so it's streamed right now directly from my phone, and what we can do is we can use the application as it is. So for our meeting rater, the first page should be something like we're going to list every meeting and give the user a scrollable container. So let's just start with the content. So what I do now is I will create a title. Well, I will use this title 1. Let's name it app name. We give it a content. Meeting rater, and maybe a little subtitle, something like create and rate your meetings. That's great. We do not need the group 1, so instead of deleting each one of those, I can simply delete the whole group. Yeah, there. You have to press on the X. Let's save the state. Great. So the next one is we want the whole screen to be scrollable. Well, it is scrollable on default, but what we want is a container, and inside of this container we want to have scrollable items. So Composer gives us a component called scroll view. And inside of the scroll view, let's just put a card. Okay, there we are. So this should represent our first meeting. Let's save it. There we are. Title, body. Okay. Now let's see what happens if I just copy this component multiple times. With Command or Control C and Control V, you're able to duplicate, and it will just put the element right behind the original. So in this case, I'm copying it a few times. There we are. So what I can do is I can scroll down and up. That's great. Now we need a button to create a new meeting, and this button should not be inside of the scroll view. Well, we could do it first. Let's see what happens. I just put it inside the scroll view, so if I collapse it, the button will really disappear on the tree. And there we are. So let's save it. And as soon as it's saved, it will refresh on the app. There we are. Maybe we do not want that. We want the button to be sticky on the bottom. So instead of putting the whole button inside of the scroll view, we just click on it on a tree and then drag it out. Can I drag it out like this? There we are. Okay, now it's outside, but still we need to scroll down and the button is not inside of this view. And to fix that, we have to go to the page layout. We have to select it, and then in in style, on advanced properties, we have to disable the scroll. And in this case, we will disable the scroll for the whole page, not for the scroll view. Okay. Now in this case, I'm not able to scroll down and up. Let's stretch the viewport to the height. And now I'm able to scroll inside of the scroll view. Let's take one item out, or maybe two items, to have the button there. Okay. So what we want to do is we do not want the whole scroll view to take so much space that the button is pushed down. So what we can do is we can set the whole scroll view to a fixed height. This is one method. Let's say, okay, so I'm pressing the scroll view. I'm in the style tab, and inside the style tab we have the dimension and position, background, and advanced properties. And in dimension and position, this will have three other layers: the margin, the padding, and the position. And what we do is we just go to the components here, width and height, and just put a default height, something like 400 pixels. Let's save it. There we are. So if we copy and paste the cards one multiple times back there and save. Well, this will not fix the problem. Okay. Oh, scroll view changed back to 0. So this should be 400. Okay. All right. So there we are. So this is one technique. One disadvantage is that we always set this one to 400, and we actually don't know how big or how small the screen size of the user is. So instead of putting something fixed like 400, we could also put a percentage. It's between usually 0 and 100. Let's say 80%. Okay, 80% is a bit too much. How about 60? Yeah, there we are. Okay. Another technique is, instead of having those as a fixed number, we can calculate the 60 or the pixel size while pressing this clip here and go to formula. And what formula is, it gives you the ability to calculate, and then we have to press on this input box here. There we are. And right now it's a static number. It's 60. And if you have never seen strings or code before, we usually put text inside of a quotation and numbers without quotation. I do think that Composer will accept numbers as a type as well as strings. Yeah. Okay. And here we have some shortcuts to variables and functions. And one interesting variable are the system variables. System variables are being set by the system itself. If you press on the system variables, then you can inspect those. And here we have they will all start with the prefix system vars dot and then the variable name. And this variable name can be nested, similar to what we have in the page layout. So if in this example, dimensions is a nested value, so you have in this case 3 other values inside it, and you can put another dot and say, let's say we just want to talk about the viewport, and inside the viewport there are another 2 nested values, and so let's go for the height. And on this documentation side here on the right, we see that the height of the viewport area, excluding any top bars and navigation elements. So we know that in this example case it's 667, but for example on your iPhone it might be 800, or on your Android phone it might be 500. So what we can do is we can just say, okay, let's put the height of this scroll view component to the height of the variable, double click on it, and it will appear in the formula input field. And then we say, let's subtract 150 or 200 pixels from it. There we are. So now our height is being dynamically calculated depending on the system vars data. Let's save it. There we are. Okay, this should be good enough for our case. And let's remove those unnecessary cards. In this case, I will just remove those. One by one. Okay. So we can click on the card and then name it, and we can change the data inside of this component by clicking on the properties, and then you will see that the title and the content variable is already been set with some default values. Let's say we have a meeting about Scrum. Let's call it Scrum 101, and this one has a content. Let's talk about Scrum. ... Okay, and save. So this could be our first meeting item. So if we go back to our notes, you will see that we do not only want to display the meeting, but also with some kind of ratings. And maybe let's not only display the ratings, also let's display the date and the location. Okay. So our card element just supports 2 items, the title and the content, but we want to display also the rating, the date and the location, so something is missing. What we can do is extend this card. if you click on it, this card will act as like a single entity. It's not nested. There's nothing nested inside. We can just only click on the card. But what we can do is we can change this one by converting it into a container. So by double click on it, you will see that we have some kind of isolation mode, and in the advanced settings we can convert it to a container. And what this means is it will convert it as if it was being created manually by dragging the container and dragging the title and the paragraph and so on. So we convert it, and we cannot revert the step, but it would be okay. So once we convert this one, you will see that in the tree the card itself is a container, and inside of this card we will see the title and the paragraph. Okay, let's save that. Now we can extend this container card. First we want the rating. Let's pull another container. Let's put it right between the card and the title there. We will call it header. Now we are going to pull the title inside the header container, and we will drag an icon. Well, no. Let's drag another container. Let's drag another container there, and we drag the icon inside this container there. So what we have here is a container called header. Inside this container we have one title component called title2, and then there's another container. Inside this container we have the icon. Okay, what we want is that the icon and the title and the rating should be all in one line. And what we can do here is in the header container, we can change the style in layout from vertically to horizontal. And now it will display all the children from this container header in a horizontal line. So we can also justify and align items. If you know CSS, it uses the same concept as what Flexbox is using. So by Googling CSS Flexbox, you should find a good documentation. Yeah, I could recommend you this one, a complete guide to Flexbox. So they will explain what those two concepts are and how you can use it to arrange the items in the way you want. But in the most cases, those graphics will help you a lot. So what we want to do is put those not only on one line, but actually separate them in between. So we can press this one. So it will fill the space between those as much as it can. And also we want to put them on the same line. So the baseline, like that. Great. Okay, and after the icon, we want the rating itself. So let's pull another title. Or maybe we just pull a paragraph. Okay, put it right there. And let's switch to properties. Let's give it a default rating, something like 120. 120 stars. Okay, and let's change the layout for the container one. We can change the name for container one as well. Let's say ratings. There we are. On ratings we go on style, layout, horizontal, and then again same on the same line. Okay, that's great. Let's change the color, the blue one. Well, we will not focus a lot on in design and styling in this course, but if you want to change the icon itself, you have to go to properties, then you will find a list on different icons. Maybe star is, well, I would say star is a pretty good icon for this case. Yeah, let's keep the star, but let's change the color. This will act as a typography, as a font color. So we have to press the font on the font color, and then we can just change the color here. Let's take something, I don't know, maybe like orange, golden, maybe a bit darker. Yeah, that should do it. Okay, great. So what we want to do now is to display the date and the location. Let's collapse the header. This one is the paragraph, and underneath that we want to drag another container, and they are like different, they're like special containers, row and view, scroll view, and in this case we just need a row. Let's put it there. Okay, and the row will give you the ability to have nested elements, nested containers inside the parent container. We can put more containers. We just need 2 there, and let's drag the paragraph inside it. One paragraph, another paragraph. Okay, 2 paragraphs here, 1 paragraph here. So the right paragraph is the location, something like room 1443. Okay, and on the left side we have the date and then the time. This could be something like 12. Okay, 2021, and here we have the time, something like 2 o'clock. Okay, great. So what we can do is we can shorten the distance between those 2 elements. Every paragraph will come with something called a margin. You will see that in this case, maybe I can zoom in. Oh, I can't. We have some kind of space indicated as light blue here on the top and on the bottom. And if we go on the style in dimension and position, you will see that here we have the margin, the position, and let me just zoom it out. Should be a 3rd one. Oops, I lost it. Well, no, there's no 3rd one. Okay. So we have the margins, and Sometimes there's a padding, but I think because we have a row container, the padding is missing. So the margin tells you the distance outside of the border, and the padding, for example, in this case, do I not have a padding here? The padding is here. Let me take a look. Oh, here. This is a regular container. So the margin will give information about distance outside of the border, and the padding will give information about distance within the border. Okay. And in this case, we have only the padding, the margin, and we want the margin of the bottom one here to be 0. And let's take the bottom element, and that margin top should be 0 as well. Okay. Now they are a bit closer. And let's put the room on the right side. So let's align the text. We have to press on the paragraph. We have to go on dimensional position and then align self on the right side. There we are. Great. Save. Okay, let's put a little margin left to the rating. Something like 10. Great. So that's it. We finished our first page. This should list all our viewings, and we do not have any data, so this one is a mock. We can change the button, let's say, on the properties, give it a new label, create meeting. Okay, that's it. Save.